Everybody who's here in the audience, if you would please make sure to sign in so we know who is here. And the first thing on our agenda, as always, is to invite any members of the public who are here to make any comment on items that are not on the agenda. If anybody would like to do that. No? All right. Nobody ever takes me up on that one, I don't think. Are there any members of the board who have any conflicts of interest to disclose on?
I'm going to recuse myself from item 7.
Item 7, okay. Okay. And what's next? All right, so then the next item on the agenda is the minutes from the June 20th, 2018 meeting. Now, I don't think that we can take these up because there's not a quorum of people here who were at that meeting.
No, I don't think we're going to have to push
I
this.
think, do I have to make a motion to put them to the next meeting? Does anybody know?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I would just make a motion to continue the
All right, so then I
agenda
will,
item till next week.
okay. I will make a motion to continue the approval of the June 20th, 2018 minutes to the next meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. All right, then. So then we move on to application DR 18-15. This is an application by Linda Ryle, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, for design review approval for demolition of an existing garage and the construction of a new two-story garage in its place. The property is at 836 Falls Road and is located in the Shelburne Village Residential District, the Village Design Overlay District, and the Stormwater Overlay District. Is there anybody here to speak to this application?
My name is Justin
Yes.
Kramer.
Okay, if you can come to the microphone, please. And if you could raise your right hand so that I can swear you in if you're going to testify. So do you hereby swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give in the cause under consideration will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. All right.
So,
Give us an overview. Sorry, state your name again for the record.
My name is Justin Kramer, for the record.
Okay, thank you.
I would be like basically Linda's son-in-law, somewhat. Her daughter is my girlfriend, and she's actually on vacation this evening, and she doesn't get back till Saturday. However, she's in Maine. However, as far as this addition goes, we wanted to rip it up because the slab that's down right now has a big fault line crack right through it. Now, all we really wanted to do was add a story to it. However, that fault line crack down the road would be a big deal. So we figure, pull it up, dig, and then pour it a little wider, a little further back, and than what it is existing now. And then from there, build up another garage. It's basically the same. It's a little wider and a little bit, further back than that. And then on top of that, have like a living quarters with a balcony off the back. And I wasn't too sure where she was at with the front of it as well or not. I don't know, but this too would have solar panels on top to work out. As far as the garage door was concerned, she was going with something earthly, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like-
Straightforward.
Like wood.
Ravi, you didn't have any comments? or-
No comments to note
No.
from staff.
Okay. Do DRB members have any comments or questions? No? Okay. So then I will, oh, sorry, see it been away. Does anybody else in the public have any comments to make? Okay,
I would make a motion to grant design review approval to Linda Reel for the demolition of the existing garage and to add a new two-story garage at 836 Falls Road with the one condition that a zoning permit should be required prior to the beginning of construction.
I will second that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is application CU 18-05. This is an application by James Nassar for conditional use approval to demolish and rebuild a garage and a porch. The property is at 730 Falls Road and is located in the Village Residential, Stormwater Overlay District and the Village Design Review Overlay District. Is there anybody here to speak to that application? Yep.
My name is Tim Hartwick. I'm a contractor. I'm going to probably do the work if it is approved. And James Nasser Jr. can't be here. He's in Nantucket, I believe.
Okay.
So he asked me to represent him.
Okay, so if you could raise your right hand, I will swear you in. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, I mean, we did see this quite recently, didn't we, anyway?
In May.
Yeah, in May.
A couple months ago.
Yeah. So has something changed since then?
He's,
What is this?
the existing building he wants to demolish. I mean, the foundation is no good. The roof structure is all scabbed originally. It was piecemealed and the foundation is not adequate. So he needs to dismantle it and rebuild. And the idea is to build it the same dimension as is and go down with a frost wall underneath his front breezeway or front porch and the existing garage, and add a garage door. There's an existing single garage door. He wants to put another garage door in the front. And
Okay.
I guess there's a problem with it being a non-conforming structure because of the distance from the road.
Right.
So Ravi, what's different this time? It's that it's expanding, or
Yeah, it was brought to our attention that because of how significant the modifications are to a non-conforming structure, that it should go under conditional use review.
Okay. Okay.
And so it was brought back to our attention at the end of May and
Okay.
re-reviewed by staff.
Okay.
does this make it any more non-conforming? I mean, does it move it closer to the road, or?
Not that staff notes, no.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
the structure is going to be the same.
Although there is a note that there is an intention to expand the building coverage?
I think it was the porch behind the existing non-conforming structure. There's a breezeway. There was a breezeway. And I think he wants to put a small deck on the backside. I think that's the only additional building of.
Okay,
It
but it's
doesn't
not,
make it any more non-conforming.
No,
just expands the,
yeah, I'm keeping the existing roof on the breezeway part, and I'm just tearing the walls out, and the plan is to put a foundation under that part, because it's sitting right on the ground.
okay. Do DRB members have any comments, questions? No? Any members of the public have any comment to make? No? Okay. So then I will make a motion to finalize the record for application CU 18-05. And as part of that also, a motion to close with an indication of close the record with an indication of approval and direct staff to prepare a decision indicating approval of conditional use application CU 18-05 as depicted on the filed application materials.
Second.
I have to put my conditions on, sorry. I was taking a
Oh, I'm
breath,
sorry.
turning the page.
Oh, okay, good. I
So-
didn't know it worked.
So the only condition is that a zoning permit will be required prior to any improvements being made. So Mark has seconded the application. All those in favour? Aye. Thank you. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. So we are a little ahead of time, but we will take up application CU 05-14R2, which is the next item on the agenda. This is an application by Dale Arango of Lake Champlain Transportation Co. to amend a previous conditional use approval by removing a condition that the Development Review Board placed on the property in 2006. The property is at 2997 Shelburne Road and is located in the mixed-use district and the stormwater overlay district. Is there anybody here to tell us about this application?
My name is Dale Arango. I'm from Lake Champlain Transportation Company.
Okay, could you raise your right hand and I will swear you in? Do you hereby swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. All right. So can you just give us an overview maybe? There seem to be two parts to this, maybe.
Well, we had the site plan approval, but my understanding was it was an administrative approval. So are we speaking to that tonight as well?
No, so the site plan approval, as noted in the staff reports, has been administratively approved. There is a memo as a reference. The staff believed that the changes to the site plan were minor enough that an administrative approval is fine, essentially. And yeah, and the site plan approval was for a regrading of the parking lot. This regrading was previously approved in 2005, and essentially staff reapproved this approval. And again, this triggered administrative approval for staff because the changes were minor, that it did not expand the footprint in any way. Yes, so this is just for the conditional use.
Right. So when we had the previous approval, we had the requirement that each time there was a turnover in tenancy, we had to come back for approval. And what we're asking for is to be allowed to lease to any permitted use for the property, for the district.
Okay, and this is your suggested wording, I guess. Right, so you want to just have it say any permitted use.
Correct.
Should the language be permitted use or allowed use?
I mean, do we even need to have the condition? I mean,
I mean,
Essentially,
we're just removing the
yeah,
condition, so.
essentially it's just taking an
really
eraser
the
and
language
erasing this
doesn't
from,
matter, right?
yeah,
We're just dissolving that requirement.
exactly.
right, because if we take the condition out, then the
It's gone.
standard rules apply.
Right.
and it would be, right,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah, why? I don't really understand why it was put in. This is since none of us
In
were here.
2006,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
you have to go back and look at the minutes if there was anything, but I can't, if it's allowed use,
Yeah. This
they've
was,
got plenty of
so,
parking, so.
just for context, this application back in 2006, it was to basically divide a structure that was previously occupied by one commercial tenant into multiple commercial tenants. I think it was 6 to 7, if I'm not mistaken. And so in reaction to that, this condition was approved at that time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we in agreement then generally that the motion should simply be to approve with a removal of that condition. Trying to find where the wording is.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. I'll get there, maybe. Okay. Wait, yeah. All right. So,
I would make a
can.
motion to, first to finalize the record for this application, CU 0514R2, and a motion to close and indicate, with an indication of approval to direct staff to prepare a decision to indicate approval of this conditional use application, CU 0514R2, as depicted in the filed application materials prepared by Dale Larango with the following conditions. One and only being conditions not addressed by this application are not altered by this decision.
so I would, okay, so Lisa seconded, but I don't know that we're saying as depicted on the filed application materials. Are we not just saying
Well,
removing the conditions?
Removed.
how is that described again?
It's described as request removal of condition 2, but then it says replace with any permitted use. So
All right,
we're
well,
just,
how about a friendly modification to that? Let's just say, I'll make it clear, the condition would be, the second condition would be, well, wait,
Are we not just deleting the condition?
yeah, let me just say, I'm gonna revise that and say direct staff to prepare the decision, CU 0514, to remove the condition, number 2 in the previous decision, period.
That doesn't,
That work?
Yep.
Condition
That
number
will-
2 in the in the current decision, so.
I think that will work. Do you have that on
Is that the
record?
one that says the applicant must return to the zoning board for any changes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
seconded by Lisa, I think.
Yeah, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. Thank you.
Time, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Ian is recusing himself from the next item, which is application CU 15-05R1 and SP 15-03R1. This is an application by Elizabeth Pierce of Bread and Butter Farm to amend a previous conditional use and site plan application for the expansion of integrated agriculture activities and parking. The property at 200 Leduc Farm Road is located in the Rural District and the Floodplain Overlay District. I know we are running a little ahead. Is there anybody here to speak to that application? Yep.
Hi there. My name is Elizabeth Pierce. I actually go by Corey, just so you know that. And I'm the owner of Bread and Butter Farm.
Okay.
We're seeking to.
I will sign you in, swear you in first before you go
sorry.
any further.
Yep.
So if you could raise your right hand. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Right, thank you. You have to speak up for the...
Okay.
Okay, so Corey, you go by Corey Pierce. Okay.
Yep.
Can you, I guess, give us an overview?
Sure. So our farm we applied for integrated agriculture in 2015. The nature of our farm is one that we do a lot of different things. We're a community-based farm where the care and stewardship of the land and the plants, animals, people is our utmost importance. All of the activities that we are doing there have been done with that in mind and care for how all of those things are connected and integrated. And when we applied for the integrated ag designation in 2015, it made a lot of sense for what we do. So we raise we do everything organically. We raise vegetables and animals, and then we also do some teaching and some other activities on the farm. We have our burger nights, which was a point of discussion in the last round. We've also had a commercial bakery since the beginning, and the bakery has changed over the years. And Mike Proya, who's here with us tonight, has run the bakery for the last couple of years. And what we're seeking to do is have the bakery be able to allow to continue. Mike does his best to use as many of the his ingredients from our farm, and other local farms in his baked goods, and we're hoping to expand his offerings by being able to make other prepared foods that are more coming from our farm. In order to do that, we're seeking to expand our septic system so we can get the proper wastewater permit from the state of Vermont. When we originally got the septic system design and approval, we then chose to only execute half of it, mostly for a cost reason. We gave ourselves about a 10-year, we figured in about 10 years, that'd probably be when we'd outgrow it, and we're at just about year 9 right now. And so looking forward into that year 10 mark, it's in line with what we envisioned. So that's what we're seeking to do, and going through this process to just get that approval. On our application, there's discussion about parking and some other things. I wanted to clarify.
In the staff report, you mean?
In the staff report, yep, exactly.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we have parking that's right at the farm that's located. So we're on the town line of Shelburne and South Burlington. The parking that people use to come to our farm store and the bakery is in Shelburne. We're not asking actually to increase the number of parking spaces for that. I think we just need to clarify the exact number of spaces. We don't need actually expansion of parking. We have plenty. The parking area of note on the staff report on the map that shows that auxiliary or offsite parking is located in South Burlington, and that was a point of discussion in this last time when we did integrated ag, and we use that for our burger nights, and that is a lot that is actually owned by Sarah Dopp, and she has given us long-term usage of that. She can't be here tonight, but she has she said that I could speak on her behalf, that she is completely fine with our continued use of that. And if she needed to write something to support that, she's totally happy to do that. That's not, I don't think it needs to be related to this application tonight, because it's not a parking area that we intend to use for the, for our just general farm store traffic, if that makes sense. It was a big point of discussion the last time around, so I think that's why we highlighted it this time, just because it's a interesting extra point.
Okay. So you're saying that at this point, nothing is changing in terms of parking that's currently located in Shelburne?
Exactly, yep.
Okay.
In terms of what we would need to do in order to have Mike's ability to be able to do more than just baked goods as prepared foods, there's some minor renovations to the current bakery space. So an example would be, we have exposed beams, and we've spoken with the Department of Health, and they said like those beams would need to be just basically sanded and sealed. And so minor things like that, but it's not a renovation in like new walls or expansion of the space or anything like that. It's basically just a simple aesthetic and utility type, just requirements for the appropriate Department of Health licenses or license.
Okay. So that was the parking. I guess the staff report sort of questions if you're going to be seeing this much increase in your revenue, you see from the figures, sort of, there's surely undoubtedly going to be an increase in traffic, you know, but I
Yeah,
guess
so.
you can talk to that maybe.
Yeah, definitely. So we definitely understand how integrated agriculture requires that you maintain 2/3 of your income as these primary sources of income from agriculture, and 1/3 is not. And there's a little bit of confusion in the definition of exactly what counts. And so I did the best that I could to chart out the income and how that would lay out. Last time that I was here, and we did go back to look at the notes from this meeting, and it unfortunately wasn't clearly written. We did talk about our burger nights, which are all food from our farm minus the buns, as whether or not that counted as primary or secondary. And unanimously, the board said definitely primary, since it's all of our food raised right there on the farm. So, but there seems to be a little bit of question around that.
When was that you were?
2015.
Okay.
And there's actually, if you look at the integrated agriculture definition in two different places, there's a little bit of discrepancy, and you could, I don't have those right in front of me, but we could pull those up, where one, it says primary would be this, and one, it says it would be secondary. So it's a little bit confusing, and I know that Ravi and I and Dean kind of went through this and tried to look at this. So understanding what the food that Mike would be preparing would actually be. So right now, he uses ingredients from the farm and from other local farms, but he also uses a lot of flours and other ingredients for baked goods that we don't raise. So the food that we're talking about doing is actually almost entirely food that we'd be raising from the farm. So it's furthering our mission of using the food right from that land. So it feels like that's much more in line with this idea of the integrated agriculture, the idea behind our integrated agriculture. It's just unclear. It's just unclear how exactly to count it. That's not going to swing us over. Our farm, the revenue from our farm continues to increase, and it will continue to increase. So as the revenue from Mike's portion of this increases, I think proportionally we'll stay just fine. But it's just hard to make the chart when we're not entirely clear on what is primary and what is secondary, exactly how to count it.
Okay. Any comments, Robbie? I don't know that we've necessarily addressed all of the things that you raise in the staff report.
Yeah, I think one thing to note is, like Corey has mentioned, that staff has had a lot of internal discussions about what counts as integrated agriculture and what counts as secondary and primary activities, especially for myself, because I'm still trying to parse through this and understand what this means as well. And I mean, my talks with Corey, I'm also learning too, like this is how I'm interpreting this, and then coming back and saying, okay, so this is, I have to think it this way too. And so I think staff is doing its best to clarify what is considered primary and secondary. That's one thing for sure, and we're actively trying to clarify for our applicants. One thing to note is that we have discussed is, with the burger nights in particular, is that the slaughtering is happening off-site and then brought back in, and therefore it's not exactly being processed within, and therefore going into secondary. But I'm sure that the applicant can correct my understanding as well. But that would be something that you can definitely ask too, basically on where is things being processed and how are they being brought in, and that would clarify how staff would consider it as primary or secondary.
Mm-hmm.
The expansion that you're envisaging, it's essentially just doing more of the same.
Yeah, so currently Mike, and I'm not sure the process of him being able to comment as well, but he can comment too. Basically, we have a bakery license right now and not the next for making food, for preparing food. So he's restricted to baked goods, basically, right now. And so basically what we're asking to do is enhancing so we have people coming to our farm store and CSA members and people coming for his baked goods. And so we're seeking to just enhance that experience for our customer base. His idea, similarly to how the farm has run in general, has been pretty slow growth over all of these years. We're not looking to have all of a sudden this big, huge food producing place and big sit down restaurant and that kind of thing. So it's really more to enhance the experience of the people that are already coming. Certainly we will get new customers with it, but we take really seriously just what our capacities are and how to do that. The other, I think, point of note is just in general, making sure that this septic system is fitting just collectively all of the activities. It's a fairly small system right now and would then expand to we work with civil engineering associates and just what they designed for us back in 2009.
Any questions, comments from?
Complicated.
Before bringing it out to public discussion, staff did receive a letter in support from Lynn M. Walker and H. Mark Saunders of Spent Hen Farm at 148 Cheese Factory Lane. We received this Monday afternoon, so that's why it's not in your application, but it is online on the Google Drive. The letter, it does serve as testimony, just to note, but the contents of the letter do not address any particular concerns in the application. You can take a look at the letter, of course.
Right.
We have one thing that we have done, I think, a pretty good job of is keeping all of our neighbors abreast of all of our activities and what we're doing, and really making sure that we get just buy-in and that we're part of our neighborhood and part of the community right there. And we take that very seriously. And this step allowing us to do this is really an important move for us for both our mission, but also the economic viability of Mike being able to be here and make a living beyond just baked goods, and for the sort of collective nature of our farm operations. And I think that speaks to the point of integrated agriculture and sort of seeing how farms are changing and adapting as time has changed, that we need to be able to do different things and be creative within the context of sustainable farming. And I think this is an extension of that, and something that we collectively are super passionate about, the food that we're raising and then being able to offer to our customers.
So when you say go beyond baked goods?
Yeah, so think like meals to go, fast casual, taking the greens and the vegetables and the eggs and some of the meats.
From the farm.
Yep, exactly, and just like light breakfast, light lunches type foods. Taking the foods that we're growing beyond just the raw products that they would be.
Okay. I guess I don't need to make a motion to have that included in the record because it is by virtue of being. Okay.
You're seeking to upgrade your Department of Health status or your licensing, or what are you bumping it up to with Department of Health?
It would be just the next, I forget the exact what it's called, but it basically allows for prepared food. So it's like a caterer type license. But it's basically allowing for preparation of food beyond baked goods. So there's a commercial bakery license, which is what we currently have, and then there's the next one. Mike could maybe speak to that as well.
Ravi, the motion to continue that you've sort of proposed. This is, so number one there about the relative percentages of gross revenues over the last 2 fiscal years. Is that just because you feel as if we need more detail?
I do. I think that staff in the last week has had conversations that have basically made the criteria more concrete. And I think something with more clarity on your end that specifies this is what staff means by primary use and secondary use, I think would be helpful as you evaluate this request.
Okay, so this breakdown that's part of the packet you don't feel is enough? I mean, I suppose it goes back to 2017 only.
Yes, and for that as well, I'm sure the applicants can speak to it as well. I did not note revenue from the Blank Page Cafe yet. And I guess the applicant can speak whether that's only for the meals or if you mean the entire, all the baked goods.
Just that, sorry, for which one?
So under the table for the breakdown,
Yep.
under secondary activities, there's BPC, so I'm assuming Blank Page Cafe,
Yep.
right? Yeah. And so there are 2 tick marks for 2017 and 2018, and then revenue begins 2019 onward.
Yeah, so that would be for the prepared foods.
Right.
And that's what he would be transitioning more, like away from baked goods to more using the ingredients from the farm. Not exclusively, there would be some baked goods to go along with that, but right now it's only baked goods, and then it would be basically scaling that way back and doing more prepared foods. And then subsequently, as the farm and the products that we are growing and raising grows, then he would be then using that food from the farm into his food. So like right now, we're not raising eggs, and eggs would be a big part of the vision that he has. And so we would have a really good market and outlet to raise these eggs to then both sell as eggs, but then also have egg dishes and quiches and like a scramble with vegetables from the farm or stuff like that.
So it looks like the secondary activities, the percentages kind of stay the same roughly.
That's what we think, and we
Yeah.
actually think the primary would continue to grow because
Yeah.
we would have more. We're just going to be able to grow more as a farm over time in general.
Yeah.
But that's definitely, and we're very much aware of that 2/3, 1/3 split.
Yeah.
So we're keeping track of that. And we can make shifts and changes too in some of the secondaries that we're doing in order to prioritize the activities that we think are most important to the whole business.
Now, the income from the prepared meals is on here, but income from the baked goods is not on
Well,
here
that's
at
our
all?
projection that would encompass both because the baked goods would be reduced.
Okay,
and we
but
could-
even looking at 2017, they're
Oh,
not
yeah.
on here.
Yeah, and we can certainly go
Okay.
back and add that if that's a request for
Okay.
sure.
And Rami, so are you saying the things that make up primary and secondary, the way they're listed on here, the staff might have a different opinion?
Yes, I think, because, I mean, we've been in contact too, just as I've been learning about this as well. And so I think we might need to reshuffle some of the things from primary to secondary, mostly going from primary to secondary instead of secondary to primary. And another thing on this revenue breakdown that staff was looking at and was wondering more about was that jump from 2018 to 2020, where at 2018 the projected is 288,000, and in 2020 the projected is 428,000. And to us, that's quite a significant shift.
Good job. You think there's a market there?
Yeah.
That would allow-
Yep, and we also have additional land that will be projected to at this point. managing, and which would allow for general growth of the farm, which is what that jump reflects. I would like to specifically note, so in 2015, when we applied for this, I asked the question to this group about Burger Night because I needed to know, is Burger Night primary or not? They unanimously said, of course it is. And so we've operated with that understanding because the meal is, there's another designation that says when you're doing these prepared foods, 51% has to be from your farm. And it's more than, well over that. It's literally just the buns that are not and the condiments. So that's something, so I don't know if Burger Night is one that you would be questioning about whether or not to jump down to secondary, but we have been operating with the understanding that that's for sure a primary. And I would also argue that I put blank page prepared food as secondary because this was a question and we didn't know. And when I had conversations with the staff, they didn't know. So I was like, well, where should I put it? And so it was somewhat of a guess, right? But I would make the argument how I've read the integrated agriculture that even the food that Mike would be preparing that's coming from our farm, because it says the production, the preparation, and the sale of food from the farm should be primary. So it's a little confusing. I think important to note is that there's recently been legislation passed on the state level allowing for more essentially integrated activities happening on farms, which I think shows also just in general, Shelburne's been very ahead of the curve with this kind of allowance. There's other towns in the state that have allowed this, but Shelburne's been one of the few, and now it's becoming state legislation as we've seen the shifts in how farms need to make ends meet. So I think that just sort of speaks to like all of what we're trying to do as well.
Okay.
So the Burger Night meals are listed under secondary, but it sounds like the board kind of thought they were primary originally.
In 2015?
Yeah, and I put them as secondary because I just wanted to show that even as secondary, we still hit. But I was told in 2015 that they were primary, and then conversations here. So I shifted it there because I probably should have put it all as primary, but and we can redo it. But as Ravi said, there's been question and there's been back and forth, and if you actually go into the Shelburne bylaws and read, there's actually discrepancy in that conflict each other around it. So it's so we're just doing the best we can with it. I think the main message is that there's nothing that we're doing on our farm that you can't look at and say like, oh, that makes sense for a farm of this nature. They're doing these, like even our summer camps are very much about teaching children about land stewardship and all this stuff related to farming that I know is secondary, but you could argue we're creating appreciative land stewards that that we hope is they take really seriously and that they have a lot of fun with. So we're not doing anything that's off the rails, random, that falls in the secondary category. We're really doing very intentional activities around the food and the land base that we are stewarding. So I just want to emphasize that because I do think some people would like to use this integrated ag to then say, oh, I could make a fast buck doing this random secondary activity, right? Like you could theoretically say that or do something like that, and we're definitely not trying to do that.
You're talking about conflicts in the definitions. We only have, in this, we only have one. So we have the integrated agriculture definition with a list of activities that are considered primary. And then we have, providing that we find the primary definition is met, then there's a couple of secondary listed. So where is the conflict that you're referring to? Are there two different definitions of
Yeah.
primary? Or?
We looked at them together. There's two separate places in that big, huge bylaw thing that talk about integrated agriculture, and they're different. So that's what I'm referring to, and I don't have them at my finger pointed. Like, I don't have them right with me. I probably should have had that. I don't know if you can find, if you have those.
As referenced in your staff reports, there is a reference to section 2110.78, which is our bylaw section on definitions. And then on section, the one below it is section 1910.6, which is on conditional uses, specifically integrated agriculture as conditional use. And in 1910.6, it specifies what is considered secondary integrated agricultural activities, while 2110.78 specifies what is primary integrated agriculture activities. I think that one point that I think both of us were trying to figure out was this fine line of preparation and processing, essentially. What is to be processed, and what is that fine line between what is to processed and not processed, essentially. That's one thing. Another thing is also the definition and understanding of farm and non-farm products. And that's also why I provided in the staff reports on the previous page a definition of farming per Vermont statutes annotated for your reference. And I think that's one thing that the DRB can determine at this point to help facilitate this application, is determining the point of this preparation processing, that fine line, and also the difference between farm and non-farm products.
So assuming that we don't want to sit here and make that decision today, because we want to give it the attention it deserves, I'm thinking that maybe we do need to continue, maybe get some more detailed information from you. Do you have thoughts about? Yeah, okay, I'll get to that.
What's that?
Before I go into that, I should be asking if there's anybody else in the audience who wants to provide any comment on this.
Provide just a brief.
So, but you need to come to the microphone.
Sure, this is just very, very briefly, I'm Mike of Blank
Okay,
Page.
and I think I'm supposed to swear you in regardless of what sort of
Sure.
thing you're going to tell us. So if you could raise your right hand, thank you. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
So just quickly, just on your ask about traffic, just one point of clarity and emphasis is that we don't plan to, with this expansion of the septic and subsequent expansion of the capacity of what we're doing through the farm store, we do not plan to expand either our hours of operation or the number and frequency of any special on-farm events. Specifically, we don't plan to extend further into the evening. So we plan to keep everything sort of as is, and not, so specifically related to traffic. The intention is not to be driving more traffic there during times of the day that we're not already capturing.
I'm just wondering, I mean, your business plan, your plan looks like it's to increase the sale of products based on your numbers projection, but how do you propose to do that without generating more traffic in and out of the facility? I'm just curious.
The farm,
Be next to the microphone, otherwise can't hear you.
yeah, so the farm revenue would be, well, for Mike's things would be just a high, like right now people come and they get a baked good from him, right? So it's a couple bucks, whereas if they came to get a meal to go, it would be, a much higher price point per person that they're available to get. So that's one thing. In terms of the farm revenue, we have some wholesale business right now, and as we grow our farm, we are looking to do more wholesale, and that's not driving traffic to the farm, so that's just wholesale.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have some accounts that we're working on right now, if and as those expansions happen.
And that, I mean, it looks like, for example, the greenhouse portion of it actually has decreased quite a bit from 17, and that's gonna stay flat, so where do you, I'm just trying to get my arms around how this increase in revenue and business and traffic works, how it's gonna.
So our
be
greenhouse vegetable production decreased because in 2016, I had been asked to another organic farm down the road, the farmer had a major health issue and asked me to help manage her greenhouses, which I did for that year, which spiked my income for that year, specifically around vegetables, and then I didn't have that. We actually just put in another greenhouse, and we're hoping to see more revenue come out of that. Our land is on heavy clay soil, so it's not the best for vegetable production. So we're looking to actually expand in our beef production. We're looking to expand in our pork production, and we have, like I said earlier, laying hens on the docket, and lamb, and a few other things. So.
And the bakery products, that would fall under this category of farm-raised products. So is that where the revenue from the bakery shows in this spreadsheet?
I think so, yep.
Okay.
I don't know, didn't think that
I
was
thought it was
clear.
not in here.
I
That's
thought
what they were gonna make clear.
Okay, so the bakery products are not in this?
So I think we captured it in are you talking about in the
17.
earlier years? Okay, yeah, I can go back and differentiate and we can pull that out. I didn't because sorry, I mixed up. The projections would be the prepared foods from the farm products going in 2019 and beyond for what you have.
Are the baked goods in here for 2017 and 18, just in a different category?
So they're under
or-
rental income.
Okay.
Yep,
So it's not necessarily going to change the totals, it's
right.
just going to categorize it differently within the same secondary.
Right.
The baked goods are under rental income?
Yes, because as part of Mike's arrangement, he rents the bakery space in that, because it's a joint farm store and bakery space, and so he rents that from the farm.
Okay.
So the rental income is
That's just.
his renting of the space, but not the income of the revenue of what he's selling.
Right, which we can provide and go through that.
So that
Yep.
is not in here at all.
Right.
Yeah, I think everything that's generated on the property needs to be included in that.
Okay,
These
yep.
numbers.
Great.
If it's gonna be part of the integrated agriculture,
Great, yep.
I think that's fair. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, somebody else wanted to comment? Hi, if you could raise your right hand and I'll swear you in. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under
I
the
do,
pains and
yeah.
penalties of perjury? Just wait for me to get to the end and then you can say that you do. Yes,
I do.
thank you. So can you just tell us your name and?
John Cross, I live at 1017 Cheese Factory Road. I'm the neighbors of the Bread and Butter Farm. And just to add my 2 cents, and they're tremendous neighbors. They've been here for quite a while, and I don't know anecdotally as far as traffic, I really can't say I've noticed an increase in traffic where I live. I live down toward the Dorset Street side of them. And I've noticed a lot of traffic increasing from the developments on Dorset Street. Really nothing from the Bread and Butter Farm. I go up toward Heinsberg Road quite often when I'm leaving my house. And I really, it's never struck me that that's a problem, cars pulling in and out of Leduc Drive. They're really good stewards of the land. They're trying to keep Shelburne, rural and nice. And to that extent, I think they're doing a wonderful job. So whatever you can do to, help them along, I think it's wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you.
I did say I do already. I'm Dave Marshall from Civil Engineering Associates. I didn't know if the board or staff was familiar with Act 143. It came into effect on July 1st of this year, and it removes the right of municipalities to regulate integrated agricultural activities. So I think one of the probably the bigger picture aspects of all agricultural activities in town would be to have applicants review whether they're eligible to be considered under that particular legislation, at which point then this all may be a moot issue. But I think that's probably the benchmark right now, is to see if these particular farm activities do indeed qualify under the state definitions. And out of all that, perhaps have the planning commission look at your own regulations as far as updating them to reflect the state statutes. So
What was
just
that, 143?
Act 143.
Act 143, yes. It'd be House Bill 663.
Came into effect July 1, you said?
That's correct.
House Bill 1.
And I know Mark likes to read things at night, so I will just leave him.
Oh, you brought some for us. Thank you.
So I didn't want to muck things up, but I did want to bring everybody up to speed that this is a very important piece of legislation for the agricultural community, and it's one that the town of Charlotte, where I live, has recognized and has now allowed applicants to move forward with their projects without further regulation.
Okay, appreciate
you.
your letting us know.
It definitely
So
sounds
that-
like we should continue and review all these
Yeah.
things.
I mean, that might change everything, I
Yeah.
suppose. That's all right. I think that then, if there's nobody else who wants to make any comments, was there anything else in particular that we haven't? No? Okay. Okay, so do you hereby swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you.
My name's Julie Kay, and I live in Heinsberg, just moved there. And just as a customer and of the farm, just, again, supporting what the neighbors said, they are the most wonderful people, and to be able to have locally that kind of quality food, quality nutrition for your family, that you know who grows it, I can't even tell you how important that is, and to support people like that who are willing to work so hard to provide local food, I think is just so critical for the world today.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you still wanted to add, or you've said everything that you'd
Think
like
so.
to? Okay.
I just wanted, because we didn't talk about it much, just to emphasize, I think it said in the staff report, significant renovations. We don't actually need significant renovations. I just wanted to be really clear about that in order to do this project.
Okay. Do any members have any other questions, thoughts? Let's leave it. Let's read it later. All right, so then I think we will continue then, because even if we discover that this new legislation has an effect, I think we should proceed at the moment as if we're going to consider this, and we still need the information that we talked about. So I will then make a motion to continue application CU 1505R1 and SP 1503R1 to the next meeting. I mean, how much time do you need to come up with those figures that we've talked about in terms of more specifics and maybe juggling things around?
I don't think very much time.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can touch base with Ravi about like exactly, or will you give a report on that? Or I think I understand, but as we have learned, it's somewhat
It's not very
tricky.
obvious.
I think with all
Probably.
the knowledge that we have and the knowledge that we've gained so far, I think that we should probably meet
Okay.
me, you, Dean, to discuss, I guess, everything that's been brought to the table today, and also things that we've left unresolved before, just to make sure everything is straight.
Okay.
I will say that for the August 1st meeting, that there is a full slate. So I would suggest the August 15th or any meeting after that.
Okay, so then let's move for August 15th meeting. And yeah, I mean, I think that the only thing I'll say is that if you and Ravi can discuss as he mentioned, and then we can readdress this on August 15th.
Okay. That's good.
Maybe start with the state act so that maybe you don't have to meet.
Maybe.
Wasted a lot of time.
Might be a good place to start. I mean, the DRB will attempt to review that act as well in the meantime.
Okay.
So I will make that motion.
Second.
Seconded by Jeff. Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. And I know we didn't give you details, but I think that the details of what we need will come from the discussion between you and Ravi. Okay, thank you. Pass that back down to Ravi. Thank you. All right. And when Ian returns, we shall move on to the next item on the agenda. All right, so excuse me. We'll move on to application BLA 18-01. This is an application by Civil Engineering Associates on behalf of Rodolphe and Timothy Ballet for a boundary line adjustment between two adjacent parcels. The properties are located at 2003 Spear Street and 2009 Spear Street, and they're located in the residential district and the stormwater overlay district. So
I'm the applicant, Skip Valley. I'll swear myself.
Okay.
Get sworn in.
Yeah, I'll have to read it out because I still don't remember it. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the evidence that you are about to give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Accompanying me tonight is the previously sworn in Dave Marshall. This is really a simple project. This is a lot I purchased at the base of my driveway. I want to reserve for myself a way to get down to my trails down below. And so we are adjusting the property where the trails are located to allow that, and that will allow me then to have a separate marketable lot that would remain. So it's a simple granting of access to me to get to the roughly 70 acres below where my trail system is. And Dave, if you have any.
No, I think that sums it up nicely. I think in this particular case, what we internally call the Carroll lot, which is the single-family lot that is right opposite of Skip's driveway, is proposed to be made narrower, but still be a complying lot. And the 50-foot wide access way, in essence, from the street out into the main body of the remaining open lands, falls right across from Skip's driveway. So at this point in time, he's always enjoyed that particular open space and just being able to drive right across the road to get to that back area rather than having to travel south on the street and then access the other frontage of the large property is really the goal. And when you look in the top left-hand corner of the plat plan, the boundary line adjustment plan, it really kind of puts into context all the various properties that are involved as far as idealized access, as well as the large piece that is the primary area of enjoyment that Skip has today as far as the open space to the west.
Okay. Okay, so the purpose is to gain access to what's marked as Lot 3 on that little, Lot 3?
Yeah, it becomes part of that lot, but the idea is to basically, yes, to enable access from
All
the
right, to
residential
Lot 3.
properties that happen to be on the east side of the street, Spear Street, to be able to simply just cross the street right at the driveway.
Right, cross the street and go. Right. Okay. Any comments, Robbie?
So staff will say that when you do evaluate this, the materials, evaluate the materials and along with the zoning bylaws together, that evaluate it independently. Because staff has received a lot of inquiries about this application in the past few weeks. There's been a lot of concern, a lot of speculation with this, and I mean, and even for, I guess for myself too, imagination too. And so please do, I do advise that that this application is reviewed by itself together with the zoning bylaws and also the subdivision regulations. And that any future requests by the applicant are reviewed holistically as they have been in the past by the staff and the DRB.
Okay. DRB members have any questions or comments? No?
So Robbie, I mean, are there any concerns by the staff for this particular, I mean, it seems like a pretty simple
Yeah.
thing.
For this application itself, there's no concerns.
Okay.
But just wanted to bring to your attention that there has been a lot of inquiries about this application.
There's the concern about what's to come following.
Exactly,
this.
potentially, possibly.
I mean, I wonder if
But-
it makes sense if there are people here who have
Exactly,
questions to
yeah,
open it up.
I encourage it
Just
too.
to
Okay, so people in the audience. So if you could raise your hand if you are going to want to speak, and I will swear everybody in together. Okay? Okay. So anybody who wants to comment, whether now or in order, if you could.
Can't hurt to swear you in.
I have to. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so if you could all raise your right hands. Do you all hereby swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give in the cause under consideration should be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury? I do. Thank you. Now you just have to take it in turns to come to the microphone, introduce yourself, and tell us.
So my name is Jim Bouillet, and I live across the street at 2008 Spear Street on 7.5 acres. And so I'm not necessarily opposing anything. I just needed some clarification because it was somehow we were going to create more frontage on Spear Street or something for Skip and his projects here. So I didn't know where the land was coming from. So I can understand he likes the ability to get on his property where all of his nature trails are to line up with his current road. That makes a lot of sense to me. Was there a curb cut before? I mean, is this something new? I don't
think there's any new.
Curb cuts in the plat or any curb cuts proposed, so no.
So again, I'm kind of a blockhead. Sometimes I don't understand these things. So he's taking some land from the back piece, which is 40 some acres, or is that about right? 70. Wow, 70. And he's adding it to the one, is it an acre or that front piece?
Half an acre.
Actually, it's a little bit backwards from that, if I can just
Okay,
try.
good, great.
And maybe I'm going to have to put this up on here, so.
Okay.
That's what we'll do, so bear with me. Robbie may be able to help out on the other side here. So you're gonna have to strain your eyes, but this plan has two components. It has kind of a key plan or locus plan on the top left-hand side that kind of allows you to see the big picture. And then there is the more focused area on what we call the Carroll lot. And this is Skip's driveway right here. This is the original size of the Carroll lot. And when you transfer that component to this portion of the map, you can see the large open space that occupies the areas beyond the residential lots fronting on Spear Street, with a small amount of frontage on the far south end of the large open space. What this particular application does, or proposes, is to actually remove some of the land from what we call the Carroll lot and basically add it on to the back lot.
Okay.
So what that does is basically allows the back lot to have two frontage components. And with regard to the Carroll lot, it still meets the minimum lot sizes.
Which is, just so I know, is a 5 acre minimum?
20,000 square feet.
Oh, so that's half an acre.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, I thought I guess that's another part of my confusion. All of these houses, I thought, located in Shelburne in that particular area were 5 acre minimums.
The zoning comes right up on the west side of Spear Street.
West side, yeah.
West side, and that's a different zoning district. And that basically has a higher density than the traditional 5 acre lots.
And I think the confusion at the time that it was subdivided originally was 5 acres.
Yes, it was.
So that's changed. I was not aware of that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Subdivide our lot?
I'm sorry?
No, we're on the other side of the road, he's saying.
No, on the
Oh, on the other side, because
So the town-
you're using that neighborhood then.
At some point in the past, changed the zoning from the original 5 acre lot.
Okay, I wasn't aware of, that's probably some of my confusion right there. So the area that is lined, right there, yes.
Yep.
Where does that come from? Where?
It's coming out of the Carroll lot.
Okay, so you're reducing the lot size, and that is now going to go out and then connect with the big piece in the back?
That's
That
correct.
provides my access.
Yep.
So the access is actually going to be, the road itself is going to be on that lined portion,
That's correct. So
which
in this
is
particular case,
somewhat backed up?
there was a question
Okay.
about curb cuts. And the Carroll property had enjoyed an access, at least during some construction activities, but this particular application proposes what's called a shared access, which means that the future residential home that might be developed on the remaining Carroll property, we'll call it, will share the same access that is in this hatched area. So
Okay.
there'll only be one curb cut for both parties.
Okay.
There'll be one for the future residential home, and then for Skip's access to the remaining backlands will
Okay.
still be from one particular curb cut out of it.
So the 70 in the back, what is the density out back now? It used to be 5.
I think that's all in the same R1 zoning district,
Which
which is 20,000 square feet, half acre.
Half acre lots.
22,000 square feet.
When did that happen?
I lose track, and in that last 5 years, I forget.
10 or 15 years.
Because
It's been a while.
Time flies, it's been a while, yeah.
years ago, I was concerned, I don't even know how many years ago you proposed the development that was going to be across the street. But at that particular time, I was concerned because the driveway that was going to come out of that particular development, which 15 houses, I don't know exactly what it was all on about half acre lots. And what was being applied for was the ability to use the density from the neighborhood further to the west. And at that particular time, I was concerned about 15 homeowners coming out and trying to get onto Spear Street at the same time that I was. So I was a little nervous about that. So then when that was denied, there were 2 5 acre minimum houses or lots for houses that were sold right in front of my home. And at that particular time, the access to the back 70 acres was given away, because of the sale. So I'm not saying that I'm just trying to figure out everything that's going on. So there are no plans currently for anything other than nature trails?
The application tonight is simply to give me access to my nature trail.
Okay.
If I can add it, may give you, if you're worried about Jim, if you're worried about a, 15 or 20 house development back there, there is a restrictive covenant of the middle house right there.
Microphone, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's a restricted covenant on that middle house that limits all development below, essentially in that big square area, to one house.
What house is that?
The,
Whose house is that? Is that across from us, or?
yeah, the one that's just across from you. So that house, and you can just look it up in the land records, and has a restrictive covenant on any development down below. In addition, the three houses to the house to the north and the house to the south of the so-called Carroll lot have restrictive covenants prohibiting development within a certain distance to the west. So, the most I think that could practically be developed there, if I ever wanted to do that, is one house. So maybe that, lies any concern. But the application tonight isn't for any of that. It's just to give me access to my trails, so I don't have to go down the street and through an area that's a lot wetter.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Good job.
I'm John Richardson, and I live in the east end of the Hallcrest development. And my concern on whatever happens here is drainage, because all of the stormwater that comes out of that area flows down, and there is an easement through my property. The town has had to increase the diameter of the storm drain from 24 inches to 36 inches under heavy storm conditions already. It will flow over the top of my yard. It cannot be handled by the 36-inch diameter storm drain that we have. And if we get to the point where we're back here and discussing subdivisions for development, I would ask that this board be diligent in the drainage issues that are related to this particular activity.
Yep, and I think that that's definitely something that would have to be considered if that point is reached.
I mean,
but-
right now, there's an area that is eroded so badly that the annual mowing has had to be pushed out into the field because the tractor would tip over if it got into that hole.
Right. Okay, we appreciate your comments. Thank you.
I'm Bob Hayward. I'm the owner of the lot, the southernmost border of the long lot south of the property. I had pretty much the same questions that Mr. Bouye had, and I think Skip pretty much answered them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to make comments? Yep.
Carol Bouye. So from what I was reading, all these things, you're trying to take from, can I just see this closer up? See, this doesn't completely coincide with some of the stuff that you guys had that I got from Robbie. So you're trying to take, there's Foley, there's, so you're trying to do, and where is this land is coming from, back here somewhere?
No, so if you can imagine, this is all the Carroll lot as it exists today. That's the middle of the.
Which is the one you currently
Just
own.
north of Foley, yeah, which I bought a year ago.
Right.
So-
And you've been on and off there. Could you have to add to that?
So what we're doing is going to.
just make sure
narrow the
you
lot.
have a
So this will
microphone.
be the remaining potential residential lot.
Right.
And then we're basically taking this sliver, this 50-foot wide sliver, and adding it to the big property out back.
Okay,
So it will have two fingers that will reach out to Spear Street,
right.
to the frontage.
That one is already there.
This one on the south end is
That's,
already here.
nothing's changing
And we're
there.
adding basically a.
Because we have a backup, septic, mound system that's, where that other one is.
Yep.
So, that was a concern of ours too.
Right.
Can you hold the microphone so that the two of you are talking into the microphone instead of?
I was just
behind
trying
it.
to understand this because it was very
Yeah.
difficult to understand the things I got from Robbie.
Yeah, I
from what
appreciate
was
that.
written and what was, in the map of it. So, so the proposed drive is where you've been driving onto it already?
Yeah, I mean, if you drive by it, we staked it out just to, give a sense
So
of
why do you have to expand it at all if you've already been getting back there?
No, we want to resell that lot, and if I just
Oh.
resell it, I don't have any access. So I'm essentially giving
Oh,
myself
so you're
access.
trying to give yourself access so you can develop that lot that's already there?
Correct, the one that's
Okay.
there, not below, but the one that's there.
Okay, okay, all right, gotcha. All right, thank you. Thank you.
DOB members have any thoughts?
Nope. Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to finalize the record for application BLA 18-01. And to make a motion to close with an indication of approval for this boundary line adjustment in the application BLA 1801 for the properties at 2003 and 2009 Spear Street as depicted on this plat prepared by Civil Engineering Associates dated 5/30/18 with one condition that the Mylar is recorded within 180 days of this approval.
I will second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Yep. Didn't quite hear Lisa, but I think you did agree with the last motion. Okay, do we have any other business?
Points to raise. I mean, unless
Yeah.
you have things to raise first.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up the sidewalk thing on
That's
Spear.
exactly what I was going to raise too.
Sidewalk, the new bylaw
Yeah.
on Spear Street.
Oh, as it relates to that application we had a few months ago?
The two
Yeah.
last month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to make that an agenda item for August 15th. Kate Lally from the Parks Committee is going to come in and properly explain that,
Yeah.
the bylaw and what that entails, and exactly, I guess, your role in it,
Yeah.
essentially. So, so please do note that for the August 15th meeting, I would like to make that an agenda item of business. So with some of the findings of fact, notice of decision, Dean and I have been discussing the Kirkpatrick and Farrington decision, and we've made some minor adjustments to the conditions that we'd like you to look at and review and tell us it's all right. Especially because one thing that we want to make sure is to straighten out everyone's understanding of this bylaw before it's completely approved with the final plan. So much more deliberation is necessary in regards to 1900.7 specifically. So please take a careful read of those two decisions, and let me know and let us both know about the wording of it and also your concerns about this sidewalks.
Sorry, which two decisions?
Kirkpatrick and Farrington. I don't think you were
Oh, then
here.
not.
You or Lisa were here. So.
Okay.
The thing I had a concern reading it, and I didn't remember it worded this way, but it
Yeah.
said that basically the existing bike ped
Exactly.
facility on Spear Street.
Exactly.
And it's
Exactly.
really, it should just say
And-
shoulder.
and so,
because
yeah, that's-
what it is.
so
It's
that's-
not a pedestrian
yeah.
facility.
And that's why we changed the wording. It's because we don't have enough evidence to believe that that's an alternative pathway, and that's something that we'd like to bring back to the table so that we can define what an alternative pathway is, and I guess your role in determining what is an alternative pathway and how exactly we can request that. And so that's one of the main modifications of that decision. And take a careful read at it and let me know what you think.
And can you, I know you gave us the new wording in the bylaws, but I think I recycled it by mistake. And which made me think, were there other things that changed, or was that the only thing that
Which one do
changed?
you have right now? The
Well-
one that I have, the one that I've always had is May 2nd, 2018. And nothing's changed since May 2nd.
When did,
Wait, I have May 18th, 2016.
That's subdivision.
Oh,
That's for subdivision regulations.
okay.
when did we get these?
It would be before me. But there's nothing changed between this and I think it was August 2017. That was the previous amended one, I want to say, off the top of my head.
We get given the zoning bylaws,
Yeah, it
but
made
we
me
don't
wonder,
tend
like,
to update them.
What's the date on that one that you're holding, Jeff?
the subdivision or the
Zoning bylaws.
zoning ballot, May 18th, 2016.
Okay. Then I will talk to Susan and Dean and leave you some copies in dispatch. So
Yeah.
that way you know
Mine's the
what
same.
Yeah,
what you-
I know,
what the
it made
facts
me
are,
suddenly
yeah.
question everything.
Exactly. So yeah, I'll make a note of it.
So mine is the same version.
Yeah. I
'Cause
think
we just-
Kate gave us these.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like when we joined.
Okay. Okay.
And then we sort of rely on the staff report providing the most up-to-date version.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But then it never occurred to me that I was looking at
yeah.
Yeah.
out-of-date ones.
Another thing that I would like to bring up is with staff reports, I've been basically copying Kate's convention for it, just to ease the transition.
Yeah.
But I'd like to make some changes to the style, just something that I'm more comfortable with. Before I do that, before I just like shock you and being like, this is my style. Is there anything that you like seeing in the staff reports, you'd like to see in the staff reports that would be helpful for you? Yeah, Ian.
I mean, and Kate and I talked about this before, but if there's something that's on the agenda and you have a staff report for something that came, before us earlier, it would be nice to at least just know the date of that last hearing, because then we can kind of go back and refresh it. Because I mean, this year there were, recently a number of things that came up that kind of had history, and it would have been nice to at least refresh our memory, of the last meeting and that history.
At times, I mean, well, I think he's my fourth administrator, but somewhere along the line, pertinent pieces of the minutes from previous hearings
that, yeah.
that related to a particular hearing, and also any previous decisions that were there, we'd get chunks out of them, or maybe not the whole decision, or at least referred to the decision, or maybe the pertinent points of that decision. Just makes it easier than going back to the minutes that pertain to a previous decision on anything.
And I think just knowing what your main concerns are, like in an easy, because sometimes when I read through it, it's kind of like,
Staff comments,
yeah, it's kind of
A
like,
lot of it is repeat of
yeah,
something
it's
that's
just
minimal.
Sure.
kind of the most condensed
Yeah.
concern.
Yeah. So some sort of like conclusion recommendations at the end?
Yeah, kind of like staff recommendation. Or even, I don't know. Sometimes I look through it and I'm not sure what's important and what's not, the way it's just
Well, the origin of the
staff comments.
the spreadsheet format with the boxes, the X
Yeah.
complies or not complies, that goes back to about 2009, late 2008. I think Pete Gibbs kind of worked that up, and what it was just to kind of make it.
I like that.
Previously, it was really hard to get your arms around. Does it comply or doesn't comply? Just
Yeah.
for a 1 or a 0, yes, no.
But it's still kind of,
or maybe.
yeah.
And that's kind of where the origin of that, and
No, and that's good.
It makes a lot of help.
No, that really helps.
It is helpful in
And I
that
think-
format, but that
It's just a lot of
sometimes
times they're
you
just
can't
blank
tell.
and, yeah, you kind of,
I mean, the one thing we had talked about at one point, some years ago, was just if it complies, not necessarily,
Don't comment.
yeah, I mean, just condense it a little bit and, you
Yeah.
know, or even just don't comment on it. It's, you know, it complies.
Yeah, I mean,
If
it'd be
it's-
nice if it was clear, if it does comply, no
if it-
comment.
It's just, yeah, it's not even referenced, you know.
Yeah.
but,
I think that is kind of the essence of it. It's like,
Yeah.
a lot of times there's comments, but it's check complies or.
And I personally would have no problem with, you know, getting even a separate memorandum with your thoughts. If you
Yeah.
see anything that's,
Yep.
that deserves some special attention, I mean, to get an opinion of staff based on your review of any one or several aspects of an application.
Yeah.
Did you have thoughts of how you wanted to change it from what it currently is?
Well, I was more curious to know what you thought, because I personally am not a fan of the checkboxes. I think it's an oversimplification of a complicated problem most of the time, and that sometimes I find it hard to. I guess even if you look at the bread and butter one,
Yeah.
I was kind of juggling with how do I place everything that's pertinent to the application alongside the checkboxes, and something that I've been trying to figure out is how do I make this into something more cohesive. But it's also simplified for you, so I wanted to know more your thoughts on how to make something that's approachable, but at the same time can effectively explain this complicated, complex problem.
Yeah, I have no problem if you've got another format. I mean, that was, the DRB process had just started back in '08.
Sure.
So it was kind of new, and we had a new administrator, and so,
Why don't you do one
yeah,
for the
take a
next
crack
time?
at it.
Take a crack, and then we can have the same conversation afterwards to say, oh, this part worked, this part didn't. or-
Sure, okay.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I guess I'll do like one that's like something that's, I guess, different. And the rest is something that's a bit more familiar to you. And then I'll give you the one that's a bit more different earlier. So that way you'll have more time to review it if that helps or.
Yeah,
Okay.
however you want to do
Open
it.
to
Yeah.
anything, and I think your staff, your decisions have been great and pretty much bulletproof as far as the last few I saw, so nicely done.
Thanks.
Is Skip on the docket for August 1st with whatever is next in his plans?
No. No.
Should probably make a move to adjourn if we're just sort of moving
If
on.
we're just imagining things.
Yeah.
I'll second that, or somebody did.
I have a question before you leave, though.
Yeah, seconded by Ian.
On the Nassar application, the staff report actually shows 2 conditions. You only said 1. Do you want both of those? The second, you said the zoning permit. And then the second condition was conditions not addressed by this application are not altered by this decision. So keep
Right,
it
I think, yeah, I think that's not really a condition so much as just a
So do you not want that in?
statement. Is it should,
There's only 1 condition, is what you spoke. But
Right.
There's 2 in the staff report, so should the minutes reflect 1 condition?
one condition, but I guess I mean, it needs to be,
In the decision?
yeah, I think
Okay.
that makes sense, because that's almost just like a statement, it's not really a
Sure.
condition of, it just, yeah.
And the second question I had was on the bread and butter. I think it was bread and butter. You received a letter, and I didn't get the name. Who sent the letter?
Yeah, here. Just-
Sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
You can start.
And that was
Okay.
entered in as an exhibit for this that letter?
Well, no, we didn't, because we didn't need to, because it was already sent
Oh,
to
okay.
the office. So
Yeah.
it wasn't
But it
just
wasn't-
presented today.
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess,
Just wasn't in our
Marianne, that would be
package.
verbal test, that would be like written testimony that you
Well,
would,
yeah, I just marked it
Yeah.
as submittals.
Yeah.
It's there, so
Okay.
it's a matter of record.
Okay, so,
okay.
so there was a motion to adjourn, and it was seconded by Ian, and so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.